Plans unveiled today for reopening 3 Mile Island. All the electricity it generates will be sold to one company, Microsoft. Seth Kaplan joins us live with more on this big news, Seth.
Alicia, big news indeed. You see the new sign there kind of draped over the old sign. It says Constellation Clean Energy Center. Whether that big news is good news or bad news, the idea of nuclear energy again being produced here depends on who you ask.
3 Mile Island is shutting down. Unit 1 was decommissioned right around noon today.
That was exactly 5 years ago. For better or worse, depending on what you thought, no more nuclear energy produced here 40 years after this.
A buildup of pressure and temperature in the primary system. And as designed, the primary relief valves lifted, releasing radioactivity.
But now, 45 years after that and 5 years after the decommissioning, a planned recommissioning by 2028.
In 2019, we had to shut down the plant because we couldn't sell the energy on the markets.
Because of that, says Dave Marcheski of Constellation Energy, and not because of safety concerns, which is not to say those don't linger in the minds of some people who live nearby.
Yeah, his grandparents took him to a rally so he can represent his generation in regards to the 3 Mile Island. They're very against it.
People that were here in 1979, it was a huge impact to them, to their lives. And that is Unit 2. We're here to talk about Unit 1, and that plant ran for 45 years. It had a stellar record of performance and safety.
It's pretty hard to get the smile off my face today.
Rob Baer of PA Building Trades reacting to the news of at least 700 union construction jobs to get Reactor 1 back online. A lot of family history here.
My pop worked here during construction. Tom Mahaffey's dad was here. I was an apprentice for Tom Mahaffey's dad over the years. You know, Tom Mahaffey's dad was an apprentice for my grandfather as an electrician.
Tom Mahaffey, now the area's state rep.
And I think it's due to the demand of electricity. I mean, it's just where we're headed. I mean, we're talking about data centers.
Microsoft agreeing to buy power produced here. Clean power, Constellation says, for at least 20 years.
See, today's the big day with the announcement, but we have a lot of work to do over the next few years.
Including approval by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and maybe other hurdles.
We're opposed to the proposed restart and we'll litigate it aggressively.
Nuclear watchdog Eric Epstein worries about waste at the site from the other failed reactor.
Has 700 tons of high-level radioactive waste. So our position is, first things first, let's clean up the plant, move the waste off-site, and then have a discussion about restarting TMI.
When we say clean, are we taking that into account?
Well, we emit no emissions into the atmosphere. Every nuclear facility has spent fuel that's properly managed and stored on site.
Some people, meanwhile, say, well, why not wind or solar, which a lot of environmentalists consider to be the cleanest power of all. Dave Marcheski of Constellation says that's all fine, but no match right now for the amount of consistent energy this place can produce. He also says that whereas other nuclear power plants that might be coming back online are doing so thanks to taxpayer subsidies, this is $1.6 billion in private investment by Constellation, thanks to that promise by Microsoft to buy so much energy here for the next 20 years. Alicia.
Got it, Seth. Thanks so much for all that info. And there are still regulatory and perhaps legal hurdles to clear before power starts flowing from TMI. Best case is 2028 for it to reopen. The lawmaker who represents TMI is calling this a very good day. State Rep Tom Mahaffey wanted the state to bail out TMI a few years ago to keep it going. He says we need that power, and he told Dennis Owens on This Week in Pennsylvania he realizes some in his community worry about the safety of this industry. To them, he says this.
When you look at then till now, and I've been in every nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania, that is the safest, cleanest energy we have. And when I say safe, they are safe. And I feel safer than anybody. I live 5 miles from there, so I moved here. I wasn't afraid of it, and I think it's where we need to be.
But is it a problem that all the power is going to one company, Microsoft? Dennis asked that question as well, and you can see his full interview on This Week in Pennsylvania, Sunday morning at 10, right here on ABC 27.